I wanted to talk about kind of how to be smart about arranging bud vases because I do think it's easy to just stick things in bud vases, and honestly, half the time they're going to look really great. You kind of can't do too much wrong here, but I think if you incorporate some of these tips, you can really elevate the look, and that's what sometimes people don't quite get to that level. And I'd love to help you as much as I can, right? That's why I'm here. I want to help make it beautiful, but budget friendly if needed, right? So I fill these up with water. I have my shears. And what I really love, I'm going to move some of these things, is that if you've seen some of our past foraging videos, right, we have used some of the things I have in this vase, but they were different colors. And so now we're later in the season in fall, and our beauty berry is this beautiful jewel toned purple. We have a couple of other just really pretty filler flowers, honestly, and I love that they were all similar colors. Okay, so what I like to do is actually, there are a couple things you can do. And these beauty berries are actually, to my knowledge, they are edible, which is really wild. I don't know that they taste great, but be careful when you are, this is like a PSA, be careful when you are foraging. If you are like in my yard, I obviously know what I grow, but sometimes I forage and I look for things out in places that I know are legal for me to cut, and that won't be an issue, and that help regrow, you know, if needed around the environment that I am working. But be careful when you are foraging if you decide to go that route. And I know I have a couple of videos on this, but there are some really cool apps. Like I think Picture This is one of them, but just apps that you can kind of identify plants if you're not sure. I, on one occasion, have picked up, or maybe two occasions, if I'm being honest, have picked up some things that I thought looked like other things, and ended up being things that were not really good to have around. And I mean, obviously, we're not eating these things ideally, but it's good to know what is, you know, if you're really looking for something specific, or if you find something that's really pretty, to make sure that it's okay to have around your house, right? So just my little PSA there. But these, I know they're in my yard, they're beautiful. And I love showing you guys what we can do seasonally with things that are around me and our environment here in Florida, at least, and across the country as I travel. I just actually had a video in Alaska while I was visiting family. So it's possible to do it in all types of climates, which I love too. But for this arrangement, I'm going to start with these beauty berries, and I am going to just cut off the green leafy part here. And they really stick out. The leaves are funny. They're kind of intense on these, um, which I think is interesting. And what I like to do is kind of think about arranging in a couple of different ways. You can either have your arrangement be kind of all one type of flower in each of the vases, which I think can be really beautiful and very simple. Like that's a very easy way to kind of work with what you have. And you don't have to have like a whole bunch of design experience necessarily for that. Now, the other thing though that I really like to do, and I think this is where you can elevate the look a little bit more, is to kind of try to incorporate pieces of maybe two of, like, let's say we're working with three flowers today, maybe two of the vases have similar things to another two. They're not perfectly identical to what you're putting in each one of them, but I think that adds visual interest. It also makes it feel cohesive, but not so formulaic that it's like we're trying so hard. And I think it elevates the look when we go a little bit in maybe not a completely unusual direction, but maybe it's like a little bit unexpected, but still cohesive. So that's sort of my takeaway with that. So what I'm doing here is just taking off the greenery at the bottom, cutting at a 45-degree angle as always, and then just kind of placing these pieces in each. And so I do often have, as I'm saying that, so I'll move away so you can kind of see, I do often have, for example, I have this really pretty little kind of deep magenta filler flower in all three. So that's going to be my cohesive piece. But then I only have the beauty berry in these kind of front two pieces. And then this gorgeous green, at times of the year it's green. It's now a beautiful dark purple color filler. I'm going to call it a greenery filler, but it's not green. Can kind of go in the other two vessels. And I feel like, again, taking off those bottom pieces, kind of giving it this unique look. And then I'm going to bring this in for the camera so you can kind of see a little bit closer how this looks. But I really, 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 really cannot stress enough that incorporating two or three of the same stem. So not in all three vases, but in like two of the three for each stem, and then maybe having one more cohesive stem is just so fun. And I actually think this is too full. Look at that. Look at all those berries. It's like too full for me to put in. I also like, speaking of that, I also like to have a little negative space for bud vases. I think when you try to do more, it actually sometimes becomes less. um, so for bud vases, when you are working, you really want to make sure there's like, you see this kind of negative space in some of these areas. Definitely make sure you're keeping that. I think that's what makes it look so stunning and so unusual. I am going to go ahead, I think, and put maybe one of these little guys in here too. Um, and just see how I like that. Yeah, let's get a close up and see how we like it. So again, we're incorporating similar elements, but not in every single bud vase. And I just love how there's some negative space, there's some dimension, and it's so simple but very chic, right?